Okay, that was me giggling during the theme song because I can see our guest kind of dancing to the theme song. Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome, low ego action heroes. Welcome to Delta CX show and the Delta CX channel. I hope everybody will subscribe. Today is going to be a micro lesson on design tokens. But before we get into that, hi, I'm Debbie Levitt. I'm from Delta CX. We're a full service CX and UX consultancy doing projects, training, and consultancy. Check us out. And I am going to have a couple of new websites up in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So finally, I'll be able to say, go see the new website at this address. Manuel says he's always dancing too. Hi, Alvina. So before we bring in our guest and talk about design tokens, and I've got these things floating in front of my face today, I've got a few notes that I want to tell everybody. First, as always, thanks to the people who are donating to the show through the YouTube join button. Totally optional, absolutely optional, but always appreciated. Anything that people are giving. Obviously, this isn't my day job, but everything y'all give keeps me in streaming software and chocolate chips. So thank you for the delicious chocolate chips. I do want to tell people that I've been working on a merchandise shop. It's not ready yet, but I'm testing out some of the products. You might wonder, hey, Deb, that logo looks a little low on that shirt. And I say, hey, everybody, hashtag UX, because I don't want two circles right here. So, yes, the logo is a little low on the shirt, so that, thank you. Guest nodding along with that. Yeah, two circles should not be there. So, logo a little bit lower. I'm also working on, I got a test version of a white shirt. I think that's looking pretty good. And, oh, sorry, it's killing my green screen. And I decided to do a test shirt of this scoopy neck one. I love scoopy neck shirts. So it's like a big, extra wide scoopy neck shirt with the book cover on it. We're going to do a couple of variations of these. And that reminds me, I have in my hands a print proof of the book. So the book is coming December 2, 2022. We're doing the live stream where we're going to introduce the book. That'll be the day it publishes on Amazon. For those who are pre-ordering the Kindle, you can pre-order now, or you'll be able to get the print versions on Amazon starting December 2. And in December, I will also be selling some stuff from the website. I will sell signed hardcovers, and I'm also thinking about making packs of Post-its. So those will be there as well. Manuel says, can I order this to Nigeria? My shop is going to be through Redbubble. So wherever Redbubble ships is wherever you will get shirts, mugs, mouse pads, and other fun stuff that I've been working on setting up. The shop's not live yet. All right, so with all of that, with 4 minutes of wackiness out of the way, let's bring our guest in. He's actually been here before, only once, though so long ago he did not know the theme song. So finally we get to have him back, and so let's sneak him in here. Matteo! You might also catch him sometimes in our Slack community, which of course is free to join.
Yeah.
Go to deltacx.com/links and join our Slack and or Discord. Matteo, tell us who the heck you are.
Ciao, Debbie. As you
Ciao.
know, I'm Italian.
Yes, you want to do the
So
show
we
in
can talk in
Italian
Italian
and
too,
drive
sometimes.
everybody away.
Exactly. I'm living in the UK now. I was a design advocate at Sketch up until the end of last month. Previously, VP of Design at Barclays, VP of Experience Design at Barclays, and Head of Design at Midas Consoles, which is the reason I was here last time.
That's
We
right.
were talking about physical interfaces and interactions, which is still probably the thing I love the most about design. And yeah, that's it. Pretty fast. I'm not selling myself here.
You're
I'm
not
here
doing a good job
to
selling
try
yourself. But
to.
anyway, Matteo is cool. Check him out
No,
on
I'm not. I'm
LinkedIn.
not. I'm never doing it.
Yes, you can find him on LinkedIn. I'll spell it for those not looking at the screen or who aren't seeing the screen. Matteo, last name Gratton. I think I always pronounce your last name wrong. I always want to say Gratton.
It's more or less correct. It's Gratton, yes. The
Oh, that's
double
a harder
T.
T.
Is,
Gratton.
yes, it's Gratton. Yes. Yeah.
Extra anger on the
Yeah.
T. Okay, so you're here to talk about design tokens. I'm so happy you're here because this is one of those things I don't know anything about. Because I'm not a strong visual designer. I haven't written CSS in what feels like 40 years. So tell us, first of all, what is a design token?
Yeah, okay. Can I share my screen so I can start
Yeah,
it?
hold
Because
on.
let's see if I
We're
am
going to
able
take
to.
ourselves off the screen. We're going to put Mateo's screen up. Go for it. And here we
Okay.
go.
Just because I prepared a tiny thing. It's just
Beautiful.
to have fun. Because this is an nerdy conversation today. Um, and it's a bit different from the usual that Delta CX is talking about because it's way more close to UI and also development. But it is a topic that is pretty uh, strong in the market at the moment. So we thought it was important with Debbie. And also in the Slack channels, we had a conversation. And when I mentioned things like she said, go, 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 we have to to talk about that. So uh, what is a token? It is pretty simple. A token is just a couple made by a key and a value. So in some ways, it is something that is very, 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 very simple. The main problem is that, as usual, we create systems on top of something that is very simple, and we complicate it all the time. But like, just to start and to have a bit of fun, I was trying to define in a simple way, in a visual way, what a design token is. And a token is like my key is Debbie in this case, and the value is Debbie Levitt, right? So this is the couple. This is the most basic couple I can have. But then I can also make it a bit more complex, and I can assign to an existing k as a value for another k. So, for instance, Debbie for me is also the Mary Poppins of design.
Why,
So
thank you.
Mary Poppins is connected with Debbie, and as you see, Debbie was my key before. But it can also Debbie can be more than that. Is more than that for me. Is a friend. So
Oh.
my friend is Debbie. Delta CX is still Debbie. UX expert and mentor is still Debbie. A lot of love for that. So this way we can create really complex information architecture that demand to something that is very basic. The most basic thing that we can think about is just colors. I've got my red. My red is FF0000, and then I have something like my errors, and the errors should use the red color, and I can just say errors. I mean, this is my key, and the value is red, which is referring to FF0000.
I'm going to jump in and ask a
So,
question. Hold on, go back
of
for a
course,
second. So if we think about a Debbie token, does the Debbie token, is it like a CSS class? Is it like the Debbie token has this font and this size and this color? Is it a shortcut for a CSS class?
if you want, it is a shortcut of a CSS variable, yes. I- but we are using now tokens in like the basic of the tokens, which is exactly that, is because it's a couple, is a CSS class or a CSS
Okay.
variable. The variable, I'm using the variable reference because the variable permits you to have this key connected with another key. And we're going to see it later because I made an example exactly with that, which is probably more understandable than a lot of other things.
Okay, because so far I'm like,
um,
what is the token? But it
hmm,
sounds like you're going to get there, so I will shut up and let you
yeah.
get there.
So there is actually this is an important thing to mention. Design tokens are a thing, and they've been a thing for a long time, but they are still not standardized. There are different ways to use them, to create them, to handle them, to name them, and also to write, to organize them and write documents with them. There is a W3C group that is working on a standardization for that. Thanks for from Gina Anne and the group of the design system Slack channel. If you are not subscribed to that, you can subscribe to that too. If you are interested in these things, I can send you the link. Um, but this is an open source, if you want, group where everyone can attend and participate. There is a lot of things that is available on GitHub already with discussions about different topics. They're very nerdy. They are very detailed. Many times is very connected with engineering as well. So can be a bit it can be a difficult topic to follow, but it's super interesting and it is important for the world of UI nowadays. um, One thing that I want to add here, like I use this quote because it's the most common and used one nowadays. So design tokens are indivisible pieces of a design system, such as color, spacing, type, accuracy, scale. And this is why the actual definition of a design token was the first one, a key and a value, which was Debbie and Debbie Levitt. All the others are other kind of tokens if you want, and we're going to have a look at that. Another thing that is important to mention now is design tokens are probably one of the closest things that we currently have to connect design and development. And actually, in my mind and my experience, it is possible to connect even more things, like, for instance, copywriters, at least the micro labels, like labels for buttons and etc., can be tokenized too. And it is important because it simplifies the maintenance of a system. It simplifies the generation of different themes, and we are going to see that too later. And it permits to quickly refresh a brand and to also to talk the same languages between language between designer and developers. Because if I name something like this is my primary color, everyone has got the same reference, and they don't need to know exactly the hexadecimal code or the RGB code for that specific color. Is primary color and is named the same way for both. So design tokens are important for this particular reason in particular, and with design system and the growing up of the importance of design systems, design tokens are getting, of course, more focus and attention, and they are way more used than a few years ago when we were actually talked last time on this show. So, type of tokens. So we've got like a sort of a general token versus an alias tokens. So the general tokens is the basic one that we saw before, where I said Debbie equal Debbie Levitt. In this case, I just used red equal FF0000. And then there are aliases token, which means that I've got a key that refers to another key. In this case, my error referred to red, and because it's referring to red, the system will know that error is actually FF0000. And this is pretty simple to follow. And let me know if this was not clear enough.
Yeah, I'm going to just jump in. First of all, we already have a request in the chat room for you to send
Sure.
links, and I told them you're going to give me links tomorrow, so don't
Yeah.
forget. And number two,
No.
Manuel, yeah, Manuel is asking, are design tokens just names for components in design systems?
No, they are not. They a component, like, think more than a component. Think of a style, right? A style is composed by many different items, and we're going to see later that. And you can compose it with different design tokens. So, like, a button is not only the style of the button. A button is also the animations, the different states, how it interact, and there is part of the backend for the buttons, etc. This is the entire component. Tokens are part of it, if you want. They define how it looks. They define maybe the kind of animation, the transition that it has as references, but then when you put them together into a button that works in all the different part, then you have a component.
And we have
If
another
it makes sense.
question. Elvina
Sure.
says, can we connect design tokens to atomic design?
In some ways, yes. There is someone that define them like are the most atomic part of the atomic design framework. Um, so yes, I think we can refer to them in this way. Even if probably Brett Frost, when he wrote the book Atomic Design, was not thinking about tokens specifically. But yes, definitely they can be thought as the more atomic part of the atomic design. Yes.
All right, those are the questions. Please keep going.
Okay, so the second part here is about choice versus decision tokens. So this is a bit more difficult, and as a separation, like the most important part here to think about is we've got something that is just about connecting items. Like I know that I have an entire typographic scale. I have a small size, which is, I don't know, 0.5 RAM, default size for everything that is 1, and an Excel size that is 1.75 RAM, like I have in example here. Um, so this is like completely agnostic from anything. They are not referring to anything. But then I can use them to make a decision. My H1 font size should use this size. And this is a decision that I do. So usually designers, when they are using design tokens, are mostly using decision tokens and not choice tokens, because the choice tokens are like the real atomic part of it. And decisions tokens are like more connected with the styles and the things that the designers are using every day. But still it's important to know that, like, to try to define them properly and to make the right references, to not to work and rework continuously. And as you can see here already, uh, the design tokens require to find a language, a naming convention that will work for all of you. And these naming conventions should work for developers, in some way should work for designers, it should work also for others. But in particular, designers and developers should understand what these mean. Okay, and this is important because one of the most difficult part of the work of a UI designer and a developer that is developing the UI part is to actually talk the same language and use the same language. As designers, we often don't like to have the dashes or I don't know, underscores or anything that divide the names. So we can use slightly different way to name our styles and our colors and our textiles, etc. But they should follow the same structure. And this is something that is very, very important. And as I mentioned, it is a nerdy conversation because it's going towards the engineering side.
Okay.
Because you have to actually engineerize. Oh, I don't have it today.
Is
Sorry.
that even a word?
Uh, yeah, exactly. You have to create an engineering version of your system, and it should work and it should be defined in all its own details. Um, so it is important to actually work on the naming conventions. It's a sort of a UX and research work about how can we name things together. Is that understandable to everyone, etc., etc. So it is a process that is actually an ongoing process. So we were we had a question about components. So we have, for instance, our button component, and our button component in its style is in its basic style part is made by the color of my text, the color of my background if it exists. I didn't add here the border colors because you can have also the border colors. You can have border radius if you want, like it could be smooth on the corners, you can rounded, and you've got your spacing because you have to have some padding left and right and top and bottom, etc., etc. So I have my keys and I have my values here. But as you can see, in general, my values are values that refer to something else, and I don't really know what it is. And this is the interesting part of thinking this way, because you always have a reference, and if the reference change, automatically will change also for my button. And if you start to think this way, like if color background was red, and at some point the company decided to change it to purple, everything that is referring to purple will automatically change. Sorry, to red. I will automatically change it to purple. So my color background will become purple. And we will see it because I did an example that is actually working this way. And I will swap between two different themes, and I will show how it works.
Okay, I'm
So
hoping that
here we can see,
example will really help us out.
of course, yes. So just going a bit more in depth, I have my color on background. Okay. So what is going on underneath it? What the system is doing is checking. And by default, I'm starting to, the first question in this case, because I can have a light and dark theme, is which kind of theme do I have? Is this a light theme? If so, my color on background is referring to another design tokens that is color on background light. And my color on background light is referring to a choice token that is called palette neutral tan. And palette neutral tan is actually a color because it's the most basic part. And this is the actual color that I have. Same on the dark part, but of course the reference is different here. So it is referring to a different palette and the color is different. What is the result of that? We have two different, it was referred to the default. I'm using this because this is the example I have done for you. But like that was referring to default. In this case, my default for the light theme following or arrive to define that default should have a white background and a black text. And in this case, it's just reverted because, and if you go back here, we can see it was color on background dark, and here it was color on background light, and we can see that this is way darker than this one. It's not a pure white and pure black. So this way, following the structure and the system is actually referring back and back and back to my original, going back towards my choice token. It will define that, okay, it should be black. And the text here should be black and the text here should be white. So why design tokens are so important? First of all, because they are platform agnostic. Every time we are writing these key values, these couples of key and values, they are written in a form that can be then used anywhere. They can be used if you are writing code in React, if you're writing code in Angular, if you're writing for an iOS app, an iPhone app, for some software, like whatever language you're going to use, whatever platform you're going to use, that will work and can be quickly used and adapted to adopt and change the colors and adopt and change things. Like the questions we had in the Slack channel was about changing themes, changing fonts, and changing colors for a new brand, I think, or different themes. And actually, this is the reason you can do it with design tokens. And the default file format for design token is JSON. And this is an example of how it is written. As you can see, it's pretty following an engineering pattern. Do we use this way? So it is a bit recursive. But this way, it is possible to read the files properly and to understand how, and every system can understand how to use them. And here in this case, I have my value is colors.black, which means that it should check the value that is coming from colors, black, and this is the value that I have. So my text style should be black, and black means RGB001. In this case, it's RGBA because like the opacity is 1. So this way, you can always handle all the things and have all the references. In some ways, you can see them as variables. This is my variable. If I change the variable at the beginning, it will the change will be inherited every single time you're using that variable. In some ways, it works exactly that way. So it's a bit of coding ported to the design part as well.
Matteo, we have a
So
question from
sure.
Elvina. She wants to know, how do developers distinguish between choice tokens or the other tokens? Does the type of token matter?
It doesn't matter too much. The main thing is usually choice token are not touched and not updated through time, rather than you have to do, if you are doing a rebrand, for instance, or you are creating a new theme. Whether the other tokens are way more variable and you are many times adapting them because you need to define, I don't know, something new. For instance, in this case, I need to define a different text style. So this is what they are using. But like, for instance, once you've got this system in place, developers are not even managing anything like that. They are just saying that they want text type, body, dark background, and automatically they have that part. And the nice thing is that you can have a text style, and you can have that my body is made by a background color, and then is also made by something else. And you've got, I don't know if you remember SAS. In SAS, you had the mixins. You can have uh, that as an idea. Like, you have color, you have your background color, you have your font family, you have your font size, etc., etc. They are put together to create something. And the nice thing is that once you uh, use that class, for instance, in HTML, that class refers to the variables, and the variables automatically refer to the original one. But you don't even need to know how they've been created, because they are actually already existing and inherited. If you use a design tool, for instance, you can think at tokens as styles, your layer styles, your text styles. They are already a sort of agglomerate of different tokens. So they are in some ways a sort of a component part. And the basic part is like the color. Both Figma and Sketch, for instance, they have Sketch got color variables, and Figma can define the different colors. Those are actually the basic, the choice token, and you are referring to them. If you change them, they will change everywhere. Every single time you are using them, they will be automatically changed, if it makes sense.
So we have some things popping up in the chat, and I still can't tell the difference between this and CSS classes, but let me ask you some questions. Ian says, where typescale XL is the key to a value of 1.75 rem, and where typescale XL is itself a value to the key of H1 font size, then H1 font size is 1.75 rem. He's back a few slides. I think he's right there. Um, Manuel says it seems like design tokens are designed for developers. How does this affect handoff to developers apart from naming conventions?
It is affecting developers, but also designers, because usually design token sits outside the design tool. They are a reference for everyone. If you refer to my primary color, you have a reference that is specific. You know what it means, even if you don't know exactly the value of the primary color. And like, let me go to our example so I can explain it a bit better, because when you see the code, you can see how it works. So just to mention something, I'm using an example using Material Design 3 color palettes. The reason is there is a material theme builder that is available online. Everyone can play with it. You can export from there, both in JSON, but also as CSS variables, which is what I am using because I'm creating a customized HTML document. So let's go there. So when you export the actual, let's see, where is it? tokens. I'm using tokens A and tokens B because I have two styles. Um, so when you export them, you've got a lot of variables. And it exports also variables that probably you're not going to use. So this is the entire palette list and palette and available colors that the material design builder is exporting for you. If we go to the material design builder here, you can see what you can do. So I'm using the custom part, and you can set a primary color, a secondary color, a tertiary color, and a neutral color. And if you want, you can add extra colors. And the system will automatically create for you palette that actually we can see here. This is the entire tonal palette that is available based on the colors that I added here. And also an idea of how a light scheme and a dark scheme will work. And this is what then will be applied to the system. You can actually see an idea of how it works, both in light and in dark mode.
What
And
tool are you in right now to do this?
yeah, this is material team build, which is made by Material Design. And
Okay, is
I
this
will
a
send you
website?
all the links, but this is a website. This is available as a web tool, and this is the reason I'm using it, because everyone following this that is following us today can go there, test it, and try to create something as well based
Okay.
on that, so you can understand how it works. The nice thing here is that from the export button, then you can export the CSS values, and from DDSP1 you can also download the JSON files, but I'm not going to the JSON files because they are way more complex, and also it is way more difficult to create something quickly. But with the CSS variables, we can actually create something pretty quick. So what it downloads is the entire scheme with all the colors that you have available here. Like if I go back to my code, we can see that we've got primary 0, 10, 20, 25, 30. And if I go here, we've got primary 0, 10, 20, 25, 30. And the colors that are available here are exactly the same colors that are available here. And this, as you can see, is still exactly the idea of a token. This is a key, and this is my value. Okay. What is interesting then is that we can here also see, and these actually are the what I call the choice token, the basics, the references. Then we also have here something that tells me in a light scheme, my primary color is actually, sorry, this is the primary, which will be a background, will be my primary 30. Whether in a dark scheme will be my primary 80, etc. So there is a reference already here visible between this one and this one. So this is a choice, and this is my decision. And if I'm using primary, is because I have to use primary. So what I did in code, I have my oh, sorry, I had a second of flip, because on the screen I see something arriving later. So I'm trying to not have a look there. So I have the entire reference for all my colors here. The system also export the typography module, because they have different size for the font and use different font families, etc. And then there is this file that actually just import different other files, and it adds also this tiny thing, and we're going to use that in a minute, which is just, this is the theme that you have to use if your system is using a light theme, and this one is the one that you have to use if a system is using a dark theme. And then we can see also the different themes, because we can see what happens with dark. Theme dark means that my my color primary refers to color primary dark. Then I have, if I want to double check what it means, I have to go to search for what color primary dark means. I have to go to my tokens and search for color primary dark and find what it means, etc., etc. So, and I added here a few other things to handle my example, which is just spacing, because they are not exported from the material theme builder. So spacing, the corners, different kind of corners, different elevations, because this is needed just to this was needed just to make my example. And in my HTML file, all what I am doing is I am importing the theme. In this case, I'm also importing this to add an actual icon, because I just wanted to show also an icon button like we have here in the example, something like that. I have a very tiny HTML here with a few examples of buttons, and my this is my style that I'm using, like here. Like, as you can see, every single time, the majority of times actually, there is this one one pixel border I left there. But I'm referring to something that is coming from a different variable, and this is where the classes are coming into place. And classes can be seen like as a way to put together a lot of different design tokens. So I put together here different type of paddings, one specific border radius, one specific background color, one specific color for my background, one specific border, and then for this is the elevation for the hover, and then for primary color, I'm just changing the background and the color of the text. Secondary, same, etc., etc.
So it's kind of like
And I
all of
also
the elements of visual design and CSS styling, except you're using kind of variables and other references so that it's much easier to change it later.
exactly, absolutely. And the other thing that isn't like let's go here. I have my example that should work. So this is the example, the HTML file. This is just running in the browser, right? So I have primary, secondary, tertiary, error, etc. If I go back to my theme CSS and I change, like actually before doing anything else, just go here. I can run my system settings, and I am making it dark. Now my system is dark. Because I added the request to check if it's dark of light, you can see that automatically the system realized that it's dark and changed the buttons to follow the dark pattern. And if we go back here, it means that from here it asks which theme should I use. Should I use the light one? Should I use the dark one? Because I changed the settings here, you should use the dark one and follow the dark the dark path, and it arrives to different colors, and we can see them here. Like now I have a darker background with a lighter title, and if I go back to light, automatically change to that, right? And this is done because I got different variables.
Hmm.
The other thing that we can do is, if I go back to my buttons here, like for instance, I added here, where is the border radius small, corner small. I can go to my details and see which other options I have for the corner radius. I used small. I can use extra large, for instance. It's probably too big. Like let me small top, just to change it and see how it works. Border radius. Now I sit and I have to reload the page. And now you can see that I only have the corner radius on the top, and the bottom is actually squared. And I can use something else, which is, I don't know, none, for instance. It means, of course, I don't have any, I don't have any corner radius. And if I go there, I can say none. And it will be applied here. Now they are just squared. Okay, but the other thing that is important is I can, because this is my theme, and from my I was in my token A, and those are where the colors that I had. But what I did was that I went here and I created two different themes. I have these two pages, and this theme has got different colors. I've got a different primary color. Before it was in the other one, it is yellow. A different secondary color, different tertiary color, and I just excuse me, exported the CSS. And if I go back here, I have a token-b.css file here that is the exported token CSS from that build it theme. And if I change here this one to be B, like I did now, it should work. If I go back to my page, no, what did I do? It doesn't work as usual.
Live shows.
Live shows, exactly. I tested it; it works. So I made some mistake here.
It works for me.
That's
Elvina has a question while you mess around with that. Elvina says, I now
oops.
understand that it's convenient for developers to store all of the key and values somewhere. Do they have some sort of repository?
They always have a repository. And it is important to mention that the main design tools, or via plugin or natively or in other ways, they permit you to import, usually at least to export, many times also to import the design tokens into your system, in your file, so you can always update them or update an external file. Of course, I'm more used to Sketch. In Sketch, for instance, for the colors, you can actually export the color tokens. We call them only color tokens as a JSON file directly from the web, the web part of Sketch, or you can actually use that live, like a link directly to the document, which means that you have a library. If you have a library with all your colors and you update your purple to be a different shade of purple, um, it will be automatically updated also to anything that is referring to that file. So, for instance, we had customers that created some GitHub action that automatically regenerated their files and deployed a new version of the website, and the colors were automatically updated. Same thing you can do with Figma. I'm pretty sure that you can do it with more or less any tool, because this is something that is happening. I know that for instance, with Figma, you have a few design tokens plugins. There is one that is particularly famous, that permits you to import and export. So it's dual way. For instance, for Sketch, I created a design token exporter, which exports not only the colors, but export everything, like also it starts also from your styles and export everything from the styles too, all the font sizes and font families that you're using, all the shadows, etc. So it creates the JSON file for you, and the JSON file can be shared. So yes, you always have a repository, and actually usually teams decide which is the source of truth. Sometimes is an external JSON file that is used both from designers and developers. Sometimes it's the design tool that exports the things. Sometimes it's the code part that is then imported into the design files.
All right, I'm going to jump back in. Remember, we've got only about 10 or 15 minutes left, and Elvina says the most important question: what can we as designers do to help developers to optimize their work with tokens?
Good question.
Goodbye.
Yeah. So first of all, we can help them to define what is important. There are things that are more important, things that are less important. We can always start small and then increase the size. We as designers know usually what is more important for us and where we have the majority of the issues. We can definitely help to maintain them. to check that everything works and it is aligned with what I want. Like, I know that reading this document this way, it's not easy. But again, you can import things like that into your preferred design tool, and you have perfect references, and you can see the colors and understand if it makes sense. Other things we can help with are help them to define a naming convention that works for everyone. This is something that is more in our mindset, mental model and mindset than in their mindset. But these references should work for everyone, particularly when you are going to references that are like this. Like, what is this? When you are referring to things that everyone is using more than the basic tokens, like this color primary, what color primary means, how should be used, etc., etc. And then the other thing that we always have to do, like when you are working with design system, you have a list of components. For instance, you have to check that components are using the right things and they are reflecting what is designed and what is um, intended to be designed and used. And the other thing that we can do is try to help them to define also other type of tokens that I didn't mention here, rather than at the beginning, something like animations, for instance. You can define the type of Bezier curve you have for animations, and what they means. So they have a reference. They don't have to redevelop all the times the same thing. And you know that if you tell them use this animation, that token for animation, it will always be the same. And all these kind of things. Another type of tokens that I saw used a few times, not so many times, are tokens for micro labels. Like if you think at like your buttons, there are some label or labels that you are using on top of a field. There are a few labels that are very recurrent in the system, and were actually many times managed as a sort of key value couple as well, which means that the copywriter, for instance, can check them and and as soon as they are used in the system from both the designers and particularly in this case it will be the developers, they will automatically reflect what is expected. And yeah, those are the main things we can do. I wanted just to see here if I am able to quickly do something different. Let me check. I don't remember if I added here any here. Okay, this. I just wanted to change the font family to see if we can. We are using A. So if I go here, you're using Roboto here at the moment. So I don't remember which families I have. Just to see something that is active.
Papyrus.
Papyrus.
Comic Sans.
Okay. Comic. I don't know if I got Comic Sans active. Let's see.
Rebel. You're a rebel without your Comic Sans.
I am. Font book. That's the one. So my fonts. I only have one font. All fonts here. Okay, let's use something that should be visibly different. Avenir. Okay, Avenir is similar to the one that I am using. Baskerville. Let's see if Baskerville's got a regular version. Let's see if it works. Here. Yes. It changed the font. And because of that, if you like, I created two different styles and I changed only the colors here. And actually it was working. Like now the primary is purple. And if I'm going back here, and change here from A to B, it is going back to be yellow. Uh, as you can see here, this system can be very, very useful. For instance, in agencies, when you have a design system and you're using the same system for different, or you are in a company with different brands, you have the same system that should look like differently in different cases, but the basic underneath it is the same. You can only change the things that you need to change in the tokens part, and the code will automatically receive that and update the outcome to look to the new look and feel that you need. So you can have, for instance, one design system with all the components available, and the token file reference for the deployed website for the brand A is our tokens A, and for the deployed website for the brand B is our tokens B, and they will look different. They can look very different because you can have different fonts, different colors, different border radius, different spacings, for instance, as well, etc. And because, like in particular with web, everything is responsive, etc. If it is developed well, you don't really need to do too much work to recreate the same thing with a completely different look and feel. You can also make A/B testing if you need with these things, and it is super important also for accessibility, because if the colors, for instance, in this case, are chosen properly and they are accessible, they will always be accessible. You don't even have to test it anymore because they are referring to the right colors. I didn't saw anyone using tokens for expanded accessibility things, because I don't know if it can work, for instance, for area labels or things like that. But it is something that can be explored. I think that someone probably explored already. I don't know, but for the accessibility reasons, I think that this is it is an important thing.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Okay.
The show's almost over, Matteo, so I don't know why you thought we were going to have a very short show.
I don't know. It is a very, like, it's simple and complex at the same time.
It just seems
It is
like
very simple because it's a couple. It is very complex because you can make it super complicated, and like there are, like Nathan Curtis, for instance, which is probably one of the most important people to refer to when you're talking about design tokens and design system in general. He's got a lot of articles on like naming conventions, how to create the right names, um, how to compose the names for the complex tokens, because like primary, button, medium. And so there are a lot of things that are going together, and how to create a system that works um, and is easy to be understood from people, that anyone that is reading it. It's something that is very complex to do. So it requires a lot of work. It requires a lot of plans and a lot of collaboration between different departments. And so it is a very complex
yeah,
topic in the
thank you.
end.
I think I understand it better than NFTs, so that's a good thing. And
Thank you.
eh,
I still don't get the NFTs, so
I
too.
don't
So
either, but I think they're already on their way out. So Manuel has a question. I'll put it up on the screen.
sure.
He's asking, would we need to inform developers of the naming conventions we choose, or are the names the same with what the developers would use? I guess we all agree on a naming convention.
Yes, the idea is this is something that should be collaboratively created and managed between designers and developers. I don't believe in something that is imposed from one side or the other. One thing that, for instance, happened many times is that you have got some sort of conversions when you are naming things. I saw many designers, for instance, hating the dashes, like button dash primary. They want button primary with the capitalized because it's easier to read. Whether from a code side is way easier to have everything lower letters and with the dashes because it's only one word. And it is way easier to use it. So there can be some conversions between the two, but like the actual name is the same. It's still button primary. And sometimes, for instance, I created plugins to export things and tokens, and there was the conversions was part of the code of the plugin. So if I had button primary separated with capitals, it was exported for developers automatically with lower letters, buttons, primary. But also, like, it is important to be on the same page and to know what is going on and to know what the references are. The less differences you have, the better all the time.
Got it. So I think that might wrap us up for the show. If there's any last questions, everybody put them in the chat so I can pass them over to Matteo. Let me just take a quick look at our show schedule. Please remember tomorrow's a special Thursday show because we took some of last week off. So we're going to have Dr. Ari back tomorrow talking about research to revenue. Friday will be critical thinking. Monday will be Think Out Loud. If y'all send me anything, deltacx.com/link, send me something for Think Out Loud. Tuesday, office hours. Let's see. Wednesday is Darren's Chit Chat, and Thursday is American Thanksgiving. So I'm not going to bug y'all there. You're going to be eating turkeys. Elvina says, Grazie, Matteo. Ian
Prego.
says, when
I love Ian.
someone's yeah, when someone's surname is null, every developer's nightmare. Oh god. That's like a bad
Okay, we
slapstick
got very
vaudeville
nerd now.
comedy. What's the name? Null. No, what's the name? Null.
Actually, null in Italian is nessuno, more like could be nessuno is one of the options. And I remember there was one friend of mine that subscribed to an old forum, and the first time he subscribed, he didn't know anything about web. It was like 1998, and so the request from the forum was your nickname, and he said nessuno. From there now from them on, he was Nessuno all the places because that was his nickname.
I am no
So yeah,
one. I'm
I know one
mysterious.
exactly.
All right. Well, then I'm going to thank you again for explaining design tokens to us. That was a super
I
show.
try
This
to. It is hard.
No, once you had the images on the screen, I think people understood it a lot better. You know, when we first saw the code, we were like, what? But then I think it made a lot
Yeah.
more sense when we saw the pictures. And I think it makes a lot more sense if you think of it as CSS parameters or classes that are variables or referring to, it's almost like parent child CSS classes or
Yes.
something like that.
Yes.
I think that
I,
helps
I was
explain it.
Yeah, I was trying not to refer to CSS because they are agnostic also from the web. You can use them for other things. So I ended up with an example with web because this is what we are all used to, or the majority of us. But yeah,
All right,
thank you. I
cool. Well,
hope it
then,
was useful.
oh, Kayleen says she has a question, so I won't end the show just yet. Let's give Kayleen a moment to type her question, and we'll see what it is. It's going to be good. That much I know. But because of the delay, it can be up to 40 seconds. We'll see what Kayleen's question is. Hold on, drum roll. Oh, Kayleen types faster than that. I wonder what this is going to be.
I'm
I don't
scared
have
now.
anything to kill the time other than, hey, everybody, don't forget to come to the next shows. Yeah. Hooray. Kayleen has a question. Kayleen, come on, we're running out of time here. Okay, here it is. When is a team, product, or project mature enough to start thinking about design tokens? Does something need to be in place first?
Huh. Um, I personally think that it should not be so in an advanced status of development because it is just thinking systemically, um, and like in some ways you always have it already in place. It's just a matter to make it to make conscious decision on top of them and start to use them. You always have your colors. You know about the colors. You know that like back then we had the idea of guidelines. You know, in a guideline you had your primary color, but you didn't know how to use and when to use it. This a system like that helps you to understand when and where you should use it. So I would start pretty soon. The moment I have a button, it is already, and the button should be reused many times, which is happening all the time because like it is the main way we are interacting with the page still now. So buttons is probably, and this is the reason of the example too, is probably one of the components that is most used. So once you reuse the same element many times, you are starting to create a component. And because you are creating a component, it makes sense to create it in a complete way. So also thinking of design tokens from there. And when you create typography, you already are creating something that can be tokenized. So I would start pretty soon.
It also
Not
sounds
in a
like
way
you
that
have
is too
to.
complex.
You're right. It also sounds like you have to coordinate that with your developers because if the developers aren't aware of tokens and don't know how to work with them, this falls apart, and you probably just need to stick with CSS until your team can handle it.
That's true. But I mean, the main thing about design system is about collaboration. So you have to collaborate with developers because this is what is supposed to be done. A design system cannot exist if you don't have at least design and code. I am against the idea it is only design of code, which is what the majority of people are thinking now. I think that is way more. But at least design of code should be there. Otherwise, you don't have a component. You have something that you're using in your design or something that you're using in your code, but they are not connected.
All right. Well, with that, I'm going to play us out of here. And Matteo, great to see you. Hopefully, it should be more than every like 2 years, but we'll come up with another show maybe for next year. And thanks
Sure.
for always coming on
Sure.
and educating us. We'll see you around Slack. And for now, we're going to say goodbye. Thanks again. Bye.
Thank you.
Customer
Ciao.
centricity as business intelligence. Visit deltacx.com to learn why we are